In order to be able to succeed in LSAT reading comprehension, you've got to be able to validly make inferences, you've got to be able to understand the tone of the passage, and you've got to be able to understand the function or the role of each statement that you encounter. And so today, we're going to go over several LSAT reading comprehension drills, focusing on inferences, tone, and function or role. Starting off with question number 1. L begins an objection, pauses to check the rulebook, then corrects herself before the judge intervenes as classmates exchange glances. The narration highlights both her mistake and her composure in recovery. What can we infer? A. Her self-correction evidences composure under scrutiny. B. She relies on improvisation rather than preparation. C. The judge overlooks procedural errors out of sympathy. Or D. The scene mocks her confidence as naive. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. A, B, C, or D. So she begins, pauses to check the rulebook, then she corrects herself. Then we have this final sentence, which is interpreting or analyzing the situation, saying the narration highlights both her mistake and her composure in recovery. A says composure and also references her self-correction. She had a mistake, but she recovered. Autumn says A. Fantastic. Yes, the answer is A. Well done. That one was easy. That's why we have the green circle here. Moving on, we've got a yellow one. Valentina also said A for number 1. Great, fantastic. Next, number 2. Harvey tells Mike, winning clean is optional, winning is not. Yet later, reviews an ethics memo in private. What can we infer? A, he values appearances over results. B, he occasionally questions the cost of his own tactics. C, ethics never matter to Harvey. Or D, Mike forces a strategy change. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So Harvey told Mike one thing, yet later he reviewed an ethics memo in private. So we've got a couple different answers here. Let's see, we've got Valentina saying C, Autumn saying B, Zuli saying B. We have Valentina now saying B. Okay, so we got a mix of A's, C's, and B's. Folks ultimately settling on B. Zacchaeus saying B. Yes, the answer is in fact B as in Bravo. Well done. He occasionally questions the cost of his own tactics. Why? Because he said earlier winning was not optional, but then later he was reviewing the ethics memo. So why would he do that? Because maybe he was thinking that he shouldn't just win at any cost. Well done. Next, number 3. After rejecting a lucrative corporate case, Kim Wexler defends a pro bono client whose cause offers no financial reward. The narrator comments, the smaller the case, the larger her conviction. What can we infer? A, she regrets turning down the corporate offer. B, the narrator doubts her sincerity. C, she acts impulsively without reflection. Or D, her fulfillment depends more on principle than profit. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So she rejected the lucrative corporate case, and then she defended a pro bono client, getting no financial reward. So what can we infer from this? Got some folks dropping in the chat here. Autumn says D, Valentina says D, Zacchaeus says D. Well done. The answer is in fact D. Her fulfillment depends more on principle than profit, meaning she's not necessarily driven primarily by money because she rejected something lucrative and went for the pro bono instead. Well done, folks. Next, number 4. A law review essay declares reform begins when cynics run out of excuses after cataloging repeated institutional failures. What can we infer? A, cynics are morally superior to idealists. B, reform requires universal consensus. C, idealists are irrelevant to real progress. Or D, exhaustion can trigger change more reliably than optimism. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer. This one's a bit tougher. That's why we got the red circle here. So reform begins when cynics run out of excuses. What can we make of that? What does that mean? So we can look through the choices to see, does anything line up or does anything paraphrase this initial statement? Are there any synonyms or synonymous phrases that essentially paraphrase what we saw in the original? This is a bit of a tougher question. We got a couple answers coming in here. So we got here, let's see, we got Autumn saying D, Valentina saying D. We got San Artista saying D. Welcome back, San Artista. So yes, the answer is in fact D as in Delta. Exhaustion can trigger change more reliably than optimism. Why? Because they said reform begins when cynics run out of excuses. So reform, meaning change, happened after there were all these repeated failures. So they tried and tried and tried. They kept failing. And only then did we get the reform. So the exhaustion over all the failures was what really caused the reform, not people being overly optimistic. Well done. Next, number 5. Jessica tells Harvey, power doesn't corrupt, cowardice does, then concedes a case for safety. The narrator frames this as a test of her own maxim. What can we infer? A, her action contradicts her creed. B, she views compromise as a sign of strength. C, the narrator condemns ambition itself. Or D, Harvey manipulates her into retreat. What can we infer? Again, these are a little bit tougher than some we've done in the past or some we did earlier. So Jessica said, power doesn't corrupt, cowardice does, but then she conceded a case for safety. So how do those things coexist? How do they line up? So we got some folks saying B. We also got an A. Zakaya and Autumn both saying B, but then we have Valentina saying A. We have Zuli saying A as well. A bit of a tricky one, but the answer is in fact A. Her action contradicts her creed. A bit tougher, but well done, folks. And so why is this a contradiction? Because she said cowardice corrupts, but then she was conceding a case for safety. So perhaps she was being a bit of a coward. We can't say that for certain. Of course, we don't know all the circumstances from this example alone, but her action contradicts her belief, her creed, what she was saying. So actions and words were not necessarily lining up. Is compromise a sign of strength, as B says? We don't really have any support for that in this argument. Maybe that's the case, of course, but we don't have that supported by the initial evidence or the example or the passage here. Bit of a tougher one. So we're 5 in so far, folks. Out of these first 5, let me know how you did. Please drop in the chat how many you got right out of the 5 so far. Are you 5 for 5, 4 for 5, 3 for 5? If you came late, just drop in the chat how many you got right out of those you did so far. Just give me a gauge of where you're standing on this so I can get a sense of how you're doing. Okay, so Valentina got 5 out of 5. Awesome. Autumn got 4 out of 5. Also great. Those are a little bit tougher than some we've done recently. All right, let's go on to number 6. L. Woods enters court as if the sunshine had a law degree, a line that treats confidence and brightness as virtues rather than vanity. What's the tone? A, dismissive mockery. B, playful admiration, C, dry neutrality, or D, light sarcasm? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something since you'll have to commit on test day as well, of course. We got A, mockery, B, admiration, C, neutrality, D, sarcasm. A lot of folks saying B. Zuli says B. Valentina says B. Autumn says B. Zakiah says B. Passion says B. Welcome, Passion. Yes, so the answer is in fact B, playful admiration. Just positive. They're saying that these are virtues, not vanity. So yeah, well done, folks. The answer is B, playful admiration. It's overall positive. No reason to think it's not. Next, number 7. Harvey Specter handles depositions like a conductor. Precision over bravado, each pause placed rather than performed. The image conveys mastery tinged with self-awareness. What's the tone? A, mocking, B, detached, C, respectful with a trace of irony, or D, adoring? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to something. Got a couple answers starting to come in here. We got Zuli saying C, Passion saying C, Autumn saying D. Sun Artista saying C. So the answer is in fact C, respectful with a trace of irony. So positive, but we also have the irony. They say mastery tinged with self-awareness. So there's a little bit of something extra there. It's not totally just straightforwardly positive. It's not super simple. There's a little bit extra there. And that's why we've got this C rather than D. Getting a little bit tougher. Next, number 8. Jimmy McGill keeps betting that chaos will reward creativity. The world, with a smirk, occasionally obliges. The narrator clearly respects his ingenuity while laughing at the risk. What's the tone? A, sardonic but respectful. B, purely humorous. C, condemnatory. Or D, reverent. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark. And by the way, if you don't know what a word means, it can still be the answer. So you can't eliminate it just because you don't know what it's saying. But if you can eliminate the other choices, then whatever remains, even if you don't know what it means, could still be right. Looks like a lot of folks are getting it. Zuli says A, Autumn says A, Sun Artista says A, Luke says A. The answer is in fact A. So well done, folks. You got it. Anybody know what sardonic means, by the way? Passion says A. And you can Google it and look it up. I'm not going to know. So D, reverent, means like super respectful. It has a kind of a religious tone to it. Condemnatory in choice C, meaning we're condemning it. We're super criticizing it. B, purely humorous, meaning straightforwardly funny. Then A, which is the answer, sardonic but respectful. I asked, what does sardonic mean? Zuli says mocking. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. Yeah, so I think my understanding of sardonic means it's kind of sarcastically funny in a dry, humorous sort of way. I'm not Googling it. That's just what I think off the top of my head. Folks can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, that lines up with this, right? Because it's kind of funny. They say, Jimmy McGill keeps betting the world with a smirk occasionally obliges. So it's kind of funny. They say as well that the narrator is laughing at the risk. So that's where that humorous element comes in. But because the world is obliging, they're going along with it. So the narrator's like, Jimmy keeps doing this, and sometimes it works out. So that's where the respect comes in. So yes, A is the answer. Well done. Number 9. Alicia's calm is less composure than choreography, discipline disguised as peace. The phrasing admires her control, yet reveals how rehearsed it feels. What's the tone? A, indifferent, B, accusatory, C, quietly sympathetic, or D, sentimental? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put in a question mark. Give folks another minute. We see we have one answer coming in, but I'll wait and give folks another shot at it if they need more time. Again, A, indifferent, B, accusatory, C, quietly sympathetic, or D, sentimental. What's the tone? So we got here Zuli saying C, Passion saying C, San Artista saying C, Luke saying B, Autumn saying C. So the answer is in fact C, quietly sympathetic. So overall it's positive, is how I sum it up. B, accusatory, is pretty negative, like they've done something wrong. They're not saying that Alicia's done anything wrong. They're just saying that it's not really composure, it's just discipline disguised as peace. So she appears peaceful, but it's actually through practice. It's rehearsed, it's disciplined, it's control. A, indifferent. I saw someone chose A, meaning like they don't really care. They are expressing an opinion. It's overall positive, but it's saying that there's a bit of nuance to it. It's not straightforward. So yes, C was the answer. Well done, folks who got it. Next, number 10. Vinny's antics succeed not despite their absurdity, but because they puncture courtroom pretenses with a wink. The author praises the subversive humor behind the chaos. What's the tone? A, reverent, B, analytical, C, dismissive, or D, philosophically amused. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark. Zuli asks, what does reverent mean? So reverent is like super respectful. It has a religious tone to it. So for example, a reverend, a religious leader, right? So they're very respectful, almost like it has a religious tinge or tone to it. Got some answers coming in. Luke says A, Zuli says D. So A would be saying reverent as if the author is respectful towards Vinny in almost a religious sort of way. Not sure that's what they're going for here. I mean, this is Vinny from My Cousin Vinny, the movie, if anyone's familiar. It's a classic. I definitely recommend it. It's pretty funny. So that's the humor coming in there. But that lines up more with D, amused, philosophically amused. They think what Vinny's doing is funny. We got Autumn saying D as well, San Artista, Passion all saying D. D is in fact the answer. They think Vinny's funny. They praise the subversive humor behind the chaos. So there's a ridiculous courtroom scenes, lots of antics, lots of jokes. And so yeah, so it's amused, philosophically amused. They're kind of analytical in their humor, in the humor. So it's not straightforwardly analytical as choice B says, but they're analyzing the humor behind it. They think it's funny. Yeah, Valentina says D, exactly right. So yeah, so D is the answer. Well done, folks. So we're 10 in so far. Out of these first 10, please drop in the chat how many you got right out of the 10, or whatever number you were here for. Are you 8 for 8, 9 for 9, 10 for 10, 7 for 10? Whatever you got, just drop in the chat and let us know where you're at. I wish the LSAT used movies as references. Yeah, I wish they did too. They sometimes just straightforwardly make stuff up, but they always make them unrealistic. They'll say like Acme Corporation, for example, right? They're just making up companies, not doing anything real. So Autumn is 8 for 10. Awesome. Valentina is 7 for 9. Also great. These are a little bit harder today, by the way. These aren't as easy as the drills we were doing last week, for example. So we are leveling up the difficulty a little bit. By the way, folks, how do you like these questions relative to the ones that we've done in the past? These are a little bit harder than what we've done before, but are these more in line with what you want, or do you like the easier ones? Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll adjust future classes accordingly. Number 11, the narrative opens with Elle spilling coffee on her casebook, then mastering the same doctrine weeks later, showing a visible learning curve. What's the function? A, comic opener only. B, show learning through error. C, undermine intellect. Or D, contrast law and lifestyle. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but let me know what you think. So what's the function? What's the role of this statement? What are they trying to communicate through this? All right, so we got a bunch of answers coming in here. Autumn says B, Zuli says B, San Artista says B, Luke says B. Yeah, well done, folks. The answer is, in fact, B as in Bravo, show learning through error. She was messing up before, but she learned, she got it. She was trying and failing, but ultimately she succeeds through her repetitions. Exactly right. So at least this one, Luke, is not harder than the actual LSAT, right? 12. An essay begins with Saul Goodman's flashy billboard before analyzing his courtroom behavior, setting up the tension between image and integrity. What's the function, or what's the role? A, foreshadow downfall. B, show a performative persona to be examined later. C, add a subplot. Or D, highlight ignorance. Why do they talk about the billboard before analyzing courtroom behavior? Why do they talk about the tension? What's the purpose of this? What are they trying to do? All right, so we got some answers coming in here. Valentina, Zuli, Passion, Autumn, Luke, all saying B. Well done, folks. The answer is, in fact, B, show a performative persona to be examined later. So they're showing the billboard because they're going to be highlighting it, examining it down the line. They want to communicate something about his personality. Nice, folks. Well done. 13, a profile of Harvey Specter recounts one failed mentorship before discussing leadership, connecting early mistakes to later authority. What is the function or the role? A, show mentor dependence. B, humanize authority. C, prove accidental success. Or D, expose hypocrisy. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer, because you'll have to commit on test day. I'll give folks a minute to drop some answers in here. Again, A, show mentor dependence. B, humanize authority. C, prove accidental success. Or D, expose hypocrisy. A lot of folks dropping answers in. Y'all are nailing it, doing great. So see, Autumn says B, Luke, Valentina, Passion, Zuli, all saying B, humanize authority. The answer is, in fact, B. Well done, folks. Y'all nailed it, exactly right. So they're humanizing his authority. Later, he has authority, but we're going to show his earlier failures to make him more human seeming, not like he's a perfect individual. Well done. Next, number 14. Midway through an ethics essay, the author recalls Kim Wexler's childhood theft to reframe her adult sense of justice. What is the function? A, deepen her moral authority, duality. B, digress socially. C, undermine credibility. Or D, excuse behavior. What's the function? What's the role? Why do they recall her childhood theft? They say it's to reframe her adult sense of justice. So which choice lines up with the reframing? Got some answers coming in here. Folks seem pretty much aligned. Autumn says A, Zuli, Valentina, Passion, Zakaya, all saying A. Zakaya says C. So do they want to undermine her credibility? Yeah, I think C is a little bit tempting maybe. But remember, it's a childhood theft. If you wanted to undermine someone's credibility, would referencing a childhood theft be an effective way to do that? I'm not so sure, honestly. I mean, when someone does think of a preteen or a teenager shoplifting, does that necessarily say who they are as an adult? Kids are immature, their brains aren't fully developed, they made mistakes when they were younger. That may not reflect who they are today. You could try to do that, but I think there's something else going on here. When they say she had this childhood theft, which then reframes her adult sense of justice, they're trying to show that she's complicated. Maybe she has a little bit of a checkered past. Maybe she has a complicated personality. Anyone who's watched Better Call Saul will recognize that Kim Wexler is not a straightforward individual, even though she may seem to be at first glance. So it's the duality. To deepen her moral duality. Now, of course, you don't need to have watched the show to get this question right. The idea being that they want to show that she's complicated, that her adult sense of justice is not totally straightforward or pure. And so we have some comments or debate in the chat here. Luke says, if it was an opposing lawyer, then C. Yeah, maybe. I mean, an opposing lawyer is going to pull out all the stops to undermine somebody. They're not going to hold back at all. And so they'll go back to someone's childhood and try to undermine their credibility based on that. But the question is that valid or effective? Zuli's saying we're not in the courtroom right now. True. You guys are just joking, of course. And so I think the point here is that, like, you could try to undermine credibility, but I don't think it's super effective, and it's not why they're doing this. The reason they're referencing the childhood theft is to deepen the duality, to complicate her persona. So yeah, so A is in fact the answer. C is tempting maybe, but ultimately not correct. It was A. Number 15. The essay ends with Alicia ignoring reporters and concludes, in law, silence speaks only when earned, linking image to integrity. What is the function? A, question guilt. B, synthesize integrity with restraint. C, start subplot. Or D, shift to media. What is the function? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. In law, silence speaks only when earned, linking image to integrity. So which choice best represents the function or the role of that statement? A lot of folks dropping answers in the chat. Autumn, Zuli, Valentina, Passion, Luke, all saying choice B. San Artista saying B. The answer is, in fact, B as in Bravo. Well done, folks. Integrity linked with restraint or synthesized with restraint, tying together image with integrity in the argument. Well done. So we're 15 in so far. Out of these first 15, please drop in the chat how many you got correct out of the ones that you did. So if you got 12 for 12, just put that. If you got 13 for 13, put that. If you got a couple wrong, of course, that's okay too. These are a bit harder today. So if you got, for example, 13 out of 15, just note that so we know where you're at. And by the way, folks, if you want some more support, you want to talk through your situation with me personally, you want to go over some harder LSAT material, you can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Link below the video on YouTube, pinned in the chat as well. Happy to talk through your situation and help you craft an action plan for your LSAT prep. We got here, Autumn got 13 out of 15. Awesome. Valentina, 12 out of 14. Well done, folks. Doing great here. Got most of them right. These are harder today, of course. And by the way, if you're liking these free classes, I do them every weekday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. Feel free to join every single day when you're able. And the only way this grows is through word of mouth. I don't do any advertising for these. The algorithm doesn't really boost these live streams because they can't run ads during them. And so please spread the word, drop them in your group chats, your Slacks, Discord, Reddit, wherever you are with others studying for the LSAT. Please spread the word. I really appreciate your support. Number 16, a 1L stays late outlining cases while classmates leave for a party. The narrator notes his persistence as lights flicker in the library. What can we infer? A, his diligence signals discipline that will later be rewarded. B, he confuses effort with progress. C, he lacks social skills outside study. Or D, the scene mocks obsessive overwork. What can we infer? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer. Got a couple folks dropping answers here. We got here Autumn says A, Luke says A, Zuli says A, San Artista says A, Valentina says A, Zakiah says D or A, unsure. Well done, folks. So it is one of those two, D or A. It is in fact A. His diligence signals discipline that will later be rewarded. Why? Because the narrator notes his persistence as lights flicker in the library. So they're just noting the persistence, not being negative on it. D as in Delta, the scene mocks obsessive overwork. Mocking obsessive overwork, there's nothing to indicate the mocking there, right? Just noting persistence. So all else being equal, probably positive. We could also knock out the others. C, lacks social skills outside study. We don't know that. It's one day, the 1L staying late while the classmates go to the party. B, confusing effort with progress, like maybe studying ineffectively. That will not lead to progress. We have no reason to believe that. Just overall, noting persistence, probably just positive in general. A is the best answer. Number 17, L petitions Congress in pink saying seriousness is a state of mind, not a color. The description emphasizes how appearance becomes argument. What can we infer? A, the film mocks her idealism as superficial. B, the narrator doubts the sincerity of her activism. C, she reframes appearance itself as a challenge to bias. Or D, fashion undermines her credibility. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So A, the film mocks her idealism as superficial. B, the narrator doubts the sincerity of her activism. C, she reframes appearance itself as a challenge to bias. Or D, fashion undermines her credibility. Got a lot of answers coming in here. Zuli, Zakiah, San Artista, Valentina, Autumn, all saying choice C. Well done. The answer is in fact C. She is reframing appearance as a challenge to bias. Why? Because she's saying seriousness is a state of mind, not a color. So the color doesn't matter. She's saying appearance itself, the fact that she's choosing to wear pink doesn't mean she's not serious. So her appearance, she's using it to challenge bias or preconceived notions around who she is. So yes, C is the answer. Well done, folks. 18, Chuck claims Jimmy can't tell right from clever. Then Jimmy wins a case on a technicality that benefits a dubious client. What can we infer? A, the victory shows moral growth. B, the outcome validates Chuck's critique. C, the story celebrates moral relativism. Or D, the result merely reveals Chuck's envy. What can we infer? This one's a bit harder, by the way. That's why we got the red circle there. So to give yourself an extra minute if you need it. And use all the information from the passage, right? So they say Jimmy can't tell right from clever. Then he wins a case on a technicality that benefits a dubious client. Anybody know what dubious means? While you're looking that up or dropping in the chat, I'm noting here some folks answered already. Autumn says B, Valentina says B, Luke says B, Zuli says B. The answer is in fact B. Well done. The outcome validates Chuck's critique. So Chuck claims Jimmy can't tell right from clever, meaning can't tell morally right from what is smart, or as Zuli says, dubious means sneaky or bad. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. So dubious means kind of like shifty or shady, kind of doubtful. Yeah, Luke says doubtful. I think that's kind of the word I was thinking as well. So the client's like not a great client, meaning the client's not really a morally upstanding person, probably kind of shifty or shady client. And Jimmy benefited that client winning on a technicality. So the outcome of the case that Jimmy won it, helping a doubtful client, a dubious client with a technicality, it's like, well, you have what's morally right versus what's legally right. Jimmy helping that client was not necessarily morally right, but legally it was technically clever or correct. So yes, B is the best answer. Well done, folks. Number 19, a dean tells students integrity is what you do after the offer, stressing that temptation reveals rather than creates ethical character. What can we infer? A, ethics are entirely situational. B, the decisive ethical test appears once rewards are at stake. C, the dean values image more than conduct. Or D, unpaid work is the only moral work. What can we infer? So the dean tells the students integrity is what you do after the offer. Got some folks dropping answers in the chat. Zuli says B, Autumn says B, Zakiah says B, Luke says B. Well done. The answer is in fact B. So B says the decisive ethical test. Ethical lines up with integrity, meaning, and what you do after the offer means what you do once you actually have something at stake, once there's actually money on the table, for example, that's the rewards. So the temptation that you have a choice regarding what to do reveals your integrity, whether you are morally upstanding or not. So yes, B is in fact correct. Well done. Number 20, in The Good Wife, Carrie tells Alicia, you negotiate ideals, then quits a corrupt case that compromises his values. What can we infer? A, cynicism is finally revealed as his core. B, idealism proves naive in practice. C, the scene exposes the limits of pragmatism. Or D, this show suggests ethics are always performative. What can we infer? This one's a bit trickier. Give yourself an extra minute if you need it. And also note the scope of an answer choice, right? So we're talking here about one particular context, one particular example. We have Carrie quitting a corrupt case that compromises his values. Can we then infer from that what is always or never the case? I saw some folks choosing D as in Delta. The show suggests ethics are always performative. Can we generalize from this one example what is always the case? Is that what we're looking for? Is that what they are looking for us to take away from this? That ethics are always performative because Carrie did this one thing. And a lot of folks are choosing D. I'm telling you, D as in Delta is not correct. The show might suggest that ethics are sometimes performative, maybe, but this is just one particular context. Zakai's got a question mark. Zuli's got a C with a question mark. A bunch of folks chose D. Someone chose B. Now some folks are choosing A. Valentina says A. Zakiah says A. So he quits a corrupt case that compromises his values. So he told Alicia, you negotiate ideals, which means he thinks she sometimes bends her morals to get things done, but then he quits a case because it's too corrupt, which means that he's okay with being practical up to a point, but this case was so corrupt that he was not willing to stomach it. It basically didn't feel right to him. It went too far beyond his limits. And so he dropped out of it for that reason. And so that's why the answer is, in fact, C, the limits of pragmatism exposed, which I see a couple folks got. Luke chose C. Autumn chose C. Fantastic. I know we have a lot of question marks as well. What this is saying is that even someone who tries to be realistic or pragmatic or practical, eventually, even they are going to hit a moral limit. So that's why the answer is, in fact, C. Super hard question, folks. Probably the hardest one that we've done so far, I think. Even I had to noodle over it a bit, but well done. I hope if you want me to clarify, happy to do it. We're 20 in so far. Out of these first 20, please drop in the chat how many you got right. Were you 18 for 18, 20 for 20, 17 for 20? Whatever you got, just drop in the chat where you stand so that I have a gauge of how folks are doing so far. And again, by the way, folks, you want to talk through any of these questions with me, talk through your reasoning, craft out a good action plan for your LSAT prep, you can always book a free LSAT lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Link below the video here on YouTube, pinned in the chat as well. Luke is asking, A, is there a case for choice A? Cynicism is finally revealed as his core. If anything, I think that he is showing himself to be more idealistic by quitting. He's saying, I can't stomach the immorality of this corrupt case. I don't want to be part of something I don't morally agree with. I think the cynical argument would be to stick with the case that's corrupt. So no, I don't think there's a case for A. I think he's showing himself to be actually more idealistic than he initially thought. Seeing Luke is 12 for 15 so far, pretty solid. But yeah, these are all harder questions, so accuracy is going to drop, but you guys are doing great with these. Let's go on to 21. Elle Woods treats the law like a puzzle she's already halfway through. The phrasing merges respect with amused affection. What's the tone? A, warm admiration. B, sarcastic wit. C, flat neutrality. Or D, scornful humor. What's the tone? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So we got A, warm admiration, B, sarcastic wit, C, flat neutrality, or D, scornful humor. Got a couple answers coming in here. Let's see what we got. Autumn says A, Zakiah says A, Luke says A, San Artista says A, Zuli says A. Nice, fantastic, folks. The answer is in fact A, warm admiration. Basically just positive. Got respect, amused affection. They like her. D, scornful humor. Scornful is negative. We don't want that. Neutrality, flat, no. It's got an opinion. Sarcastic wit. Nothing sarcastic here. It's pretty straightforward. Just, they like her. That's it. Number 22. Harvey smiles like someone who already billed for the conversation. The narrator's wit underscores both charm and calculation. What's the tone? A, envious. B, witty but critical. C, bitter. Or D, plain. What's the tone? Well, they've definitely got some opinion, right? So nothing neutral. Both charm and calculation. Those are the keys. You want to look for a choice that reflects those. Got a couple of folks dropping answers here. We got Zuli saying B, Autumn saying B, Zakiah saying B, San Artista saying B, Luke saying B. Yep, exactly. You all nailed it. It is in fact B, witty but critical. So the calculation That's the witty part, but critical. He already built for the conversation, so there's some calculation there as well. Not overly positive. They've got somewhat of a tinge of negativity there too. Good. 23. Kim Wexler's restraint burns brighter than most people's outrage. The line conveys awe at her discipline without irony. What's the tone? A, reverent awe, B, sarcastic, C, clinical, or D, bitter? What's the tone? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. Got some answers coming in here. I'm going to point out we have the word awe in the passage. A also says awe. Maybe that makes it a little bit easier than would have been otherwise, but we have that word reverent in A as well, right? And so reverent, I said earlier, is like respectful, being respectful in almost a religious sense. Awe, the word awe, of course, also has a religious connotation. Lines up, and folks got it. Zuli says A, Luke, Autumn, Son Artista, Zakiah, all saying A. Well done, folks. The answer is, in fact, A. Great. Number 24. Jimmy McGill's brilliance lies in how fast he can justify what he already planned to do. The description praises intellect while criticizing self-rationalization. What's the tone? A, dryly analytical, B, wryly critical, C, comedic, or D, forgiving? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer. So they praise intellect while also criticizing self-rationalization. So there's some kind of balance here, right? And that means it's not going to be C or D. It's not just purely comedic, meaning funny. It's not D as in forgiving. They're criticizing him. And I said criticizing. B says critical. There we have it. I revealed it by mistake. Whoops. Luke says B. Zuli says B. Autumn says B. Zakiah says B. Awesome. The answer is, in fact, B. Son Artista says B. Wryly critical. It's best we got. A, dryly analytical. Would have maybe been a little bit more balanced, but we want a choice that reflects the criticism that we're seeing here, right? So when they say his brilliance lies in how fast he can justify what he already planned to do, there's, of course, some degree of criticism in there where it says that the justification is after the fact, where they want to do something, then they come up with a reason justifying that or supporting it. Number 25, Alicia Floric speaks like someone cross-examining her own heart. The narrator's voice blends empathy and melancholy. What's the tone? A, reflective, melancholic, B, accusatory, C, procedural, or D, triumphant? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark. So cross-examining her own heart. Then we've got empathy and melancholy. Those are all the keywords we're looking for. So it's not going to be C, procedural, right? That's a little more mechanical or bureaucratic. B, accusatory, super negative. D, triumphant, super positive. We want something a bit more poetic, which lines up with A, which we got Luke, Autumn, Zuli, Zakiah all saying A. And of course, A says melancholic. We've got melancholy in the passage. Lines up perfectly. There we have it. Sometimes it is that straightforward. Well done, folks. So we're 25 in so far. Out of these first 25, just update us where you're at so far, how many you got right out of how many you did. So I've got a gauge on where you're at. Let's keep going. Number 26. A law school montage shows students fumbling through cold calls before acing finals, linking struggle to growth. What's the function? What's the role? A, provide comic relief. B, establish transformation through learning. C, mock the system's difficulty, or D, delay the main argument? What's the tone? So they link struggle to growth. They're fumbling through cold calls before they're acing their finals. Got a couple folks dropping answers in the chat. We got Zuli saying B, Autumn, Luke, Zakiah, San Artista, all saying B. Transformation through learning. So that's linking struggle to growth. First they were fumbling, then they're acing. Fantastic. The answer is B. Well done. Next, 27. A profile of Harvey begins with a courtroom loss, then connects that defeat to his mentorship under Jessica. What's the function? A, question his competence. B, show strength developed through vulnerability. C, offer humorous contrast. Or D, imply weakness. What's the function or what's the role of this statement? Got a couple answers coming in here. Zuli, Zakiah, Luke all saying B. San Artista says B. Show strength developed through vulnerability. Autumn says B. Fantastic. It is in fact B. The vulnerability is that he lost before. Then we're showing the transformation over time, the development of his strength through the mentorship. Fantastic. Number 28. An essay opens by citing Elle's modest LSAT score before celebrating her later courtroom success, framing tension between standardized metrics and applied skill. What's the function or what's the role? A, contrast testing metrics with real-world lawyering without taking a side. B, foreshadow cheating. C, portray obsession with numbers. Or D, undermine her credibility. So what's the function? What's the role? Why do they open with her score? Then we have her later courtroom success. So a disconnect between those two. And of course, we know initially she might not have done great on the LSAT, but of course she ultimately got her 179. Zuli says A, Autumn says A, Zakiah says A, Luke says A. Fantastic. The answer is in fact A. There's a contrast in this example, this passage between the metrics and the real world lawyering. That's the tension, the disconnect between the two things. Nice. 29. Midway through an ethics essay, Saul Goodman's first advertising campaign appears, illustrating how marketing merges self-image with legal identity. What's the function or what's the role? A, show how self-branding blurs professional identity. B, provide an unrelated anecdote. C, distract the reader. Or D, condemn advertising in general. What's the function? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. Of course, the passage is saying, illustrating how marketing merges self-image with legal identity. We have self-image in the passage, self-branding in A, legal identity in the passage, professional identity in A. They line up pretty nicely, and the answer is in fact A. Well done, folks. I see we got a couple folks dropping that in the chat. We got Zuli says A, Luke says A, San Artista says A, Autumn says A, Zakiah says A. Fantastic, well done. It is in fact A. Number 30. In a gender bias essay, Elle's pink resume scene is analyzed to show how visual presentation reframes prejudice rather than reinforcing it. What's the function of that statement? A, demonstrate how presentation can reshape bias. B, add stylistic flair. C, universalize color as a metaphor. Or D, undermine tone. So what's the function of this statement? So in the passage, they say, visual presentation reframes prejudice. A says presentation can reshape bias. It's a paraphrase. It's a good match. We got a couple folks saying A there as well. So we got here Zuli says A, Autumn says A, Luke says A, Zakiah says A. Fantastic. You all are doing great. San Artista says A. Nice. Well done. The answer is in fact A. Well done. We're 30 in so far. If you can update us, drop in the chat how you've done so far out of these first 30. Gives a gauge of where you stand. On to 31. A professor tells her students, the best lawyers listen longer than they argue. The remark contrasts patience with aggression in advocacy. What can we infer? A, patience is portrayed as a form of strength. B, silence reflects weakness. C, winning depends on arguing most forcefully. Or D, listening wastes valuable time. That's like what my kid says to me, listening wastes valuable time. Okay, so when you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something since you'll have to, of course, commit on test day. The best lawyers listen longer than they argue. So they're contrasting patience with aggression. They're basically saying being patient is good. And we've got a choice essentially saying that patience is a form of strength. We got a couple of folks saying that. Let's see, Autumn says A, Luke says A, Zakiah says A, Sun Artista says A. In contrast, choice D, listening wastes valuable time, is kind of like a cannot be true, or least supported, does not line up with the passage because the passage said listening is good. The best lawyers listen longer. And so they're arguing in favor of listening and listening in favor of patience. Well done. 32. Donna tells Lewis loyalty is measured by silence, then leaks information to save a client. Her actions redefine loyalty rather than abandon it. What can we infer? A, she redefines loyalty by intent rather than secrecy. B, she knowingly violates ethical duties. C, she manipulates Lewis for advantage. Or D, she contradicts her earlier respect for him. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer now since you'll have to on test day. Got a couple answers coming in here. Again, as always, when you have a choice that you're considering, check the text of the choice against the passage and see to what extent it lines up. Is there textual support for a given choice? Usually, the right answer is paraphrased. For an inference question, you could find it word for word, just kind of shuffled a little bit. They're using synonyms, they're rewording it a little bit, but a lot of it will be remarkably similar. So the passage is saying her actions redefine loyalty, not abandoning it. So she's still being loyal, just in a different way. So she says loyalty is measured by silence. Then she leaks information to save a client, which seemingly doesn't line up. But in this passage's definition of loyalty, she is still being loyal. But leaking information, violating secrecy, could still be loyal anyway. And some folks are saying that, which of course is contained in A, intent, not secrecy. We've got Zakiah saying A, Luke saying A, Zuli saying A, San Artista saying A or C. The answer is in fact A. So the intention is what matters, not the technicality of whether she maintained secrecy or not, because of course she did leak something. So C says she manipulates Lewis for advantage. She's talking to Lewis, but we don't know if she's manipulating him. We don't even know if he's the one who was affected by what she did. So she's talking to him about what she does and explaining it or maybe justifying it supposedly in some way, but ultimately we're just changing the definition of a key term, redefining what loyalty means. 33, L insists preparation makes luck redundant, then prevails when a witness's confession is only credible because of the paper trail she built. So what can we infer? A, preparation can render lucky breaks unnecessary by creating them. B, her claim is undercut by coincidence. C, she wins through unplanned improvisation. Or D, the case succeeds purely by chance. What can we infer? When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark. So they say in the passage, L says, preparation makes luck redundant. Then the paper trail ends up saving everything. Got a couple folks dropping answers in the chat. Zuli says A, Zakiah says A, Luke says A. Well done. The answer is in fact A. So her preparation in the form of the paper trail rendered the lucky break unnecessary because it saved everything. So her hard work in creating the paper trail is what made the witness's confession credible. So her hard work led to the success. It wasn't through luck. Well done. 34. Chuck warns, shortcut justice shortens conscience, yet privately fabricates evidence to speed a conviction. What can we infer? A, his urgency excuses the deceit. B, his conduct contradicts his own moral principle, revealing hypocrisy. C, the shortcut is legally justified. Or D, the phrase is used as metaphor only. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark. Got a couple folks dropping answers in so far. Give you another minute. So he has a warning, basically saying, be moral, do not shortcut justice, but then he privately fabricates evidence to speed a conviction. So there's a bit of hypocrisy in there, lining up with choice B, as in bravo. We got Zuli, Luke, and Zakiah all saying choice B. B is in fact correct. Well done. So his conduct, his actions, are not in line with his supposed stated principles. So he's being hypocritical. Well done. Number 35. A journalist observes that Kim apologizes less for mistakes than for believing she could fix them after detailing her repeated efforts to reform a broken system. What can we infer? A, the comment praises Kim's maturity. B, it highlights regret over overconfidence. C, it portrays her as reckless. Or D, it suggests avoidance of responsibility. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark. What can we infer? So we got a mix of answers here. Some folks saying C, some folks saying B. Got someone switching from C to B. So what's the main point of this statement? What are they trying to communicate? Are they trying to say that she's reckless, that she's negligent, that she's careless, or that she was trying to do something, her repeated efforts to reform a system, and she wishes she had done differently? So again, C, it portrays her as reckless, just saying she's negligent, she's careless. Not really what's going on here, I don't think. It's more emphasizing her repeated efforts to reform things, and she is apologizing for even believing she could have fixed them. So the answer is in fact B as in bravo, highlighting regret over overconfidence. So she's regretting that she had so much belief because she was ultimately mistaken. So we got Luke saying B, Zuli saying B, Zakiah saying B. B is in fact correct. Well done, folks. C was maybe tempting a little bit because she was making a lot of mistakes, but the focus or the emphasis here is on her attempts and her feelings about her previous attempts. So B is in fact the answer. Well done, folks. We're 35 in. Out of these 35, please drop in the chat how many you got right to give me a gauge of where you stand. Again, we're running these free classes every single weekday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. If you find these helpful, please spread the word. If you don't find these helpful, don't tell anybody. But seriously, though, if you find these helpful, please spread the word. The only way this grows is through word of mouth. The more this grows, the more folks join, the more I will keep doing these and expand them and build this up over time. Really appreciate all your support, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. We're covering formal logic drills tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. I'll see you all then. Have a good one till next time.